Tiff happens.
Here we are.
Welcome to episode half dozen. Numero 6, here we are.
I'm so happy. It's been so fun. It's been such a great way for us to hang every week. I don't know. I know it continues to be so cliche, but it feels so amazing getting texts and feedback from our friends. So everyone
People
who's
who are
listening on
listening.
your
Yeah.
commutes, even if you're starting from our amateur first one, I feel like we've gotten better even as we've gone
I
on.
personally feel like we've come very far. And I think that's all that matters. Progress, not perfection, which we've said since the beginning. So, yeah, agreed. Thank you to everyone. It's so fun. We're doing this for ourselves, but also because we think these are conversations that people are having and might resonate with a larger audience. So,
Well, my Instagram DMs and group chats have been blowing up this week with all things Alex Cooper and Call Her Daddy
great.
and the Call Her Alex docu premiere on
Yep.
Hulu.
And you gave me homework to try to watch some so we could talk about it. And you know what I did? I did not watch any. So I've obviously seen so much of it on social media and all the clips, but I'm really excited to hear your thoughts and feedback. And I mean, it's a very important conversation, and a lot of the things that she covers and just
Yeah, I mean, I think my overall notes are first, I'm a longtime listener. I don't know if I would say I'm part of the daddy gang. I also don't know if I'd call myself like a Swiftie but I think I'd call myself more of a Swiftie than I would part of the daddy gang. And that's only because I would not pay money to go see her on her podcast tour, but I do listen to her weekly. So maybe I am. I don't know if that's really a defining character, but that's to say, longtime listener, got started with Alex in 2020. So I've seen her brand personally evolve. And I appreciated this documentary, even though I find it quite early in her career, because it really revealed this like multi-dimensional woman and how you could perceive, I think Call Her Daddy is this raunchy, sex forward, type of salacious pod. And sure, maybe in the beginning it kind of was that, but I love that she takes that power back, and it's really
totally.
about owning your sexuality, and you can talk about these things. And so I'm a big fan of how her personal and professional brand has evolved, and I think she's building a incredible media empire. But specifically, the area that struck me and that was like very personal was her entire experience playing collegiate soccer. And I don't think many people knew that about her and her brand. And she
I
came
didn't.
forth. Yeah, because I mean she's compartmentalized, she's hidden it, but I've always known she played D1 soccer at Boston University. And she came forth in this docu sharing that she was sexually abused by her female coach.
Wow.
And the abuse wasn't physical abuse, it was verbal, it was emotional. And I completely understand what she is talking about. And without
Wow.
getting into too many details, that was my experience as a competitive club soccer player growing up, playing prior to going to Northwestern. Then once I got to Northwestern and played D1 soccer at NU, similar experience. Not as extreme, but definitely abusive power dynamics from a female coach and the other players on the team. And so I don't know. It's been such a topic of conversation this week amongst my best friends that I played collegiate soccer with, some other friends who I grew up playing club soccer with, and just how it takes a platform like this for people to come out and share their experience. And this is even the first time I've even publicly talked about this, if you consider this publicly, but I do. And so that's just kind of my quick summary on all things Alex, Call Her Daddy. And I feel like I also didn't have the language to understand what was going on when I was even.
That's what I was just
rising up in
thinking.
the
I feel like there's so many women in particular, but men and women, and at that age, you're not men and women, kids who don't even understand what's happening to them at the time. And then you grow up and you realize that wasn't okay. That experience I had was not okay. And I'm very proud of you that you feel empowered watching Alex and able to share. That's something we've been friends for 15 years and I've never heard you talk about that. So it's amazing for
Yeah,
you
because
to
it's
feel
like
that comfortable to do that now.
my external story, which is not wrong, my external story is always that, been a college athlete, shaped who I am, and I stopped playing after my sophomore year because I just wasn't happy playing on this with the team anymore. I knew I wasn't going pro and I wanted to experience more of college. I wanted to
Sure.
study abroad. I wanted all these things. And that's all of that is true.
Hmm.
But had I had a different college experience with a different coach, different team dynamics, I would have played all 4 years. I would have
Yeah.
stayed. So that's just the part that I kind of leave out. But the even bigger piece that I think about as you have kids, I have kids, like as they are growing up in youth sports, there is truly a systemic issue with just coaches in youth sports in general, men and women. And I
Yeah.
think about how do you look for those signs of, I mean, abuse is such a strong word. I don't know if I want to say abuse, but just the mental toll that it takes on young kids in youth sports, making sure
Yeah.
that there's body positivity. My club soccer coach named the stomach of a 16-year-old on my team because she had a not perfectly flat stomach. He named it and would call her by hello eating disorder. Like that's a beautiful
No.
way to.
No,
I'm
that's
just like
insane.
that's a very specific example, but like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it doesn't come in just forms of sexual abuse, but also
Yeah.
body and emotional and
But that's such a, as you said, that's such an important thing that you need to make sure that you're teaching kids at home because if they're not getting that message at home, eh, the world's definitely not teaching them body positivity and how to speak up for themselves and right versus wrong. And it's just, a big part of the burden of being a good parent nowadays. And I think a lot of millennial parents relate to cycle breaking and doing something different. And I mean, there wasn't a lot of that when I grew up. There was definitely not a lot of body positivity, and to the point where now we have a rule in our house where there's a sign, literally a sign printed at the door that says, "We do not make comments about anybody's body in our house. Even if you think you're saying something kind, please keep it to yourself." Because even if you look at someone like I remember when I was 3 months postpartum with one of the babies, a family member, extended family member, put their hand on my stomach and said, "Almost gone." And of course, they thought that was a compliment. They thought it's, you've almost lost all the baby weight. But to me, I'm like, why? A, don't touch me. B, don't talk about my body. C, I'm putting up a framed set of rules in my house now to keep people from doing that. So now anytime something like that happens, we say, oh, we don't talk about bodies in our house. It's not a personal thing. It's just a rule in our house because it's something that we want to make sure we're instilling. And that's just one,
yeah.
talking about bodies and body positivity, but instilling those things in your kids at home because they're definitely not getting it
Yeah.
elsewhere.
But it's also about like I think about, when your kids get older and start playing sports and Max is just getting into soccer, I just think about youth sports right now. And this is also another conversation I've been having a lot with my friends whose kids are playing crazy amounts of sports right now. And it's like at the end of the day, like are your kids are they having fun? Like that should be the litmus test. Like is this fun for you? And
Yeah.
at some points it's kind of stopped being fun for me at some moments and me playing competitively, but you also think, isn't this just how it like this is what it takes to compete at an elite level? This is, oh, you need to be mentally tough. You need to be able to shake that off, or you need to be able to take that criticism and brush things off your shoulders.
Yeah.
But
You need to grow a thick skin. That's part of it.
and sure, you need to be tough in some capacity, but you don't need to be like verbally abused in a way that makes you feel extremely insecure. And again, my situation was more or less extreme, but I was a part of a team where that was absolutely the culture. And it wasn't until the past couple of years that I was really able to, like reflect. I think we talked about this in the last pod about almost lived experiences and like not selective memory, but how
Yeah.
things kind of come up and you're like, oh, that was grooming that was going on. I
Mm-hmm.
know the grooming wasn't part of my language when I was 16.
No
Or
way.
even honestly when I was, playing in college, I didn't
Uh-uh.
realize what grooming was a thing. And there's also grooming amongst women, there's grooming amongst men. And, it just this has been a really prevalent topic for me this week, given everything that came out with Boston. And I had friends who took officials there. Like that could have been my coach, and it kind of was my
Yeah.
coach in some other ways. So
Yeah,
we
I
can
think it's
switch gears,
interesting.
but that's just weighing on me this week is all things soccer, call her daddy, and that entire conversation.
Yeah, I saw a video over the week of maybe a 3-year-old girl, and the mom was posting the video, and she said she taught her daughter to always let her know if anyone touched her body. That was the rule. And the little girl took it to heart so much that she was sitting in like her gymnastics class stretching, and the coach reached over and touched her toes to be like, "Great job." And the little girl turns to her mom and says, "She touched my toes." And you'd almost rather that, like,
Yeah.
black and white, even if it isn't the inappropriate touching, at least your kid knows. Tell me if someone touches you, than trying to get in the gray area where your kid's like, was that the kind of touching mom was talking about, or is it a different kind of touching? And
Mhm.
it's understanding how to do the work to make sure that your kids understand those things. Where I'd much rather you tell me if someone grazed you in the hallway and bumped
Yeah.
your shoulder than not tell me anything at all. Like, tell me the things, tell me all the things,
Yeah,
and
I
we
just
will work
didn't feel
together.
comfortable talking about it because, again, I'll pretend because you didn't watch it, but like in Alex Cooper's situation, her form of sexual abuse came verbally, where her coach would ask her if she had sex with her boyfriend last night, or she would require her always comment on her body and how good she looked in a uniform. Or, and again, I shared these specific details because it doesn't just come in form of even physical touching.
No.
It's how someone makes you feel. And, you know, it just made me think about how do you share that with either like your kids as they're
How do you
getting
teach your
older?
kids to trust their gut? How do you
Yeah, like
teach your
know that
kids
that
to,
felt weird
yeah,
or
that's, it feels like this is a person I'm supposed to respect, and they're supposed to be, a leader, and this question doesn't feel comfortable. How do you teach that feeling? It's tough. It's really tough. And even now as an adult, there's still times where I have to remind myself, you can speak up if that made you uncomfortable. Like, you don't have to just sit there. It took me a very, very long time to learn. It is not my job to make someone else feel comfortable if they've made me feel uncomfortable.
like what do you do? So like when I was in again playing competitive club soccer prior to Northwestern, I was on a competitive club team and the coach had us sit in a hotel room and as a form of team bonding, go around the room, and every person on the team had to share their deepest, darkest secret, their deepest, darkest trauma. Trauma wasn't a word he used, but deepest, darkest secret. And it was
Well,
that
but
so funny that
even then, that's how you remember it. You
I
remember
remember,
it in that moment as people sharing their trauma because that's
like
how it felt to you.
the deepest, darkest things that were shared. Is I don't know, is there a clinical psychologist on hand? Is there a trauma expert? Because the
Where
things
there's like the first person who sets the tone, where they're like, "I'm scared of the dark," or "I'm scared of my uncle coming into my
yeah,
room."
no,
Where you're
that's
like, "Oh,
literally what it
okay,
was. And it was
yeah,
this very, very, and I remember it came to me and I was like, I think I made something up because I'm like, I just don't even know how to respond to this situation. And not only did this not make me feel closer to my teammates, but this was a very awkward and uncomfortable exercise that has nothing to do with, you know, emotionally bonding with your teammates is revealing trauma secrets from your past. It was, again, all these things I'm kind of remembering. I'm like, I forgot that happened. And you kind of pull
yeah."
these things up. And again, a lot of this stuff still exists within, you know, yeah, a lot of like youth sports and
Anywhere,
PSA,
yeah.
that's not okay and not normal. I don't really know how to approach it or what to do about it, except maybe just talking and saying it's not normal. I
Or
also,
as you are doing, actively coaching a team and setting a precedent of, this is
yeah,
fun, this is team bonding, this is learning skills, there's a community here, these are the positive things about group sports and team sports. This is, you're not having your 6-year-old sit down and share their worst fears. So I'm assuming, have you done that exercise yet for team bonding? Okay, you're skipping that one. Yeah, I assumed as much.
but it's been crazy. But I mean, again, like being an athlete and all that experience has, yeah, like it shapes who you are. And it's even shaped, I don't know, career decisions. It shaped how I show up on and off the pitch. It shaped how I lead, how I mentor, the roles I'm attracted to, the types of risks I've taken, job wise, career wise. And it does give you a lot of, you know, mental stamina
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
And that
discipline.
period of your life defines so many things. And it's your clay, your human clay. You're
Yeah.
so moldable, and just, you are defined by those experiences. So being able to understand and respond one way versus another. Oh man, we can do this. Our kids are going to be great. I can tell. I can tell.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on, I want to explore career, but before we leave the Alex topic, one thing that I was thinking of is another topic that kept popping up that I think is woven in the Alex stuff. And this week is Sabrina Carpenter's new music and the art that came with it. I don't know if you saw that, but she released art for her new album, Manchild, and it's literally her on her hands and knees with a man who has no face holding her hair. And there's so much commentary about how it's not feminist. She's throwing women under the bus by just being a pet. And I think it's so interesting. And there's a lot of this with Alex's podcast where she just talks about sex and it's so open and it's so vulgar, but it's not. Like, in my opinion,
Yeah.
a big part of feminism and a big part of empowering women is being comfortable talking about sex and being
Absolutely.
comfortable acknowledging that sex is fun, sex is enjoyable. It's okay to enjoy it. It's okay to try new things. It's okay to have toys. It's okay, whatever it is. Like, that's a big part of empowering women is being okay and comfortable in your own skin. And that includes sexually. And I think Alex Cooper has done a great job of that, of being this strong, powerful female voice who talks openly about sex and asks people about sex and doesn't force people to talk about stuff that they're not comfortable talking about, but at least opens the door so that people can openly talk about things that she's comfortable talking about as well. And I think that Sabrina Carpenter is also just an example of someone who's just very open about that. And I think that's such an important part of being a strong, empowered woman is being comfortable.
Did she have like a response? Because now that I remember seeing the image and not
It's popping up
honestly seeing it,
everywhere.
not even thinking twice about it. But
No, like, because
so
I think we are the target audience, so we didn't see an issue with it. We are the target audience. Okay, so career. You mentioned that it
yes.
defined so many of your childhood experiences defined your career
Yeah.
decisions. And we've never really even talked about what you and I have very, very different career paths, career journeys. And I think they're interesting and they're both so you and I are both very content and happy with the decisions we've made and where we are in our careers and what we're doing. So I think being able to share those and see the juxtaposition is really interesting. So tell me your resume.
You want
How
me to
did
go
you get
first? Or you want
here?
to go
Yeah,
first?
you go.
Um, Before I get into that, the other thing I will say, and I kind of preempted this before we even got on the pod, is the most like over the past year, I have been consulting via a platform called Intro. And Intro is this great consulting platform where experts can sign up, and it's basically a marketplace for leaders. And so you can book interior design consultation with Nate Berkus. You can talk to Alexis Ohanian about founding a company like a Reddit, or you can talk to a Stephanie Miller about anything social, sports, culture, brand, or you can talk to me about career stuff. Interestingly, 90%, maybe not 90, 75% of like the inbound requests I have for my time are with college grads or are with people who are early on in their careers and are trying to figure out how to navigate their careers or find a new job, or will you be my mentor? And what does it mean to network? And so I think it's a fitting conversation because I think we've also gotten these topics have come up. So my entire through line of my career has been social and digital media, digital marketing. I've also been defined by being the first in many roles, meaning graduated university in 2006. So the first 4, 5, 6 years of my professional career were defined by the emergence of Twitter. What's this Facebook thing? Mommy bloggers. How are brands like Kimberly Clark going to tap into the mom blogger community? And so, because of all of that emerging media time that I was a part of, I was the first social media editor at Condé Nast, where that didn't even exist because who cares about
That's
social and digital?
crazy.
All we cared
That's
about was our
crazy.
print pubs. And
Yeah.
it was incredible how that pendulum swang very closely. But it also became an education opportunity for me, not only, being a practitioner of social, but then also doing a lot of education with the executive team and learning how to build your brand social. So social has been a through line. Conde, short blip at Rent the Runway. I was there at a very tumultuous time. They're better now. GoPro, which was one of the favorite jobs of all time, lived out in California. That's a whole other
It's
story.
crazy. Yeah.
Came back for L'Oreal, built the Kiehl's brand globally. Spent the past 6 years at Verizon building and growing their entire social practice, influencer practice, leading all their innovation and partnerships. And then for the past 2 years have been on my own, doing my own thing, consulting, and doing a lot of um, transition work, which is another topic. It's just trying to figure out where you go from here at this moment in time. 40, I know what I want. My future's in women's sports, and working on that path to get there. And just kind of, it's a very weird time right now for marketing and professionals. Very competitive. A lot of companies are reorging. So I'll pause there so no one gets bored. I feel like you kind of know.
It's not boring at all. No, I think it's so interesting. And as someone who was along for a lot of that journey with you, I have always been so impressed at your ability to recognize when it was time for the next opportunity. You were very good at, and I don't think you ever looked at your roles as jumping off points. I don't think you ever looked at something like, oh, this will be great for me when I'm ready to go to my next role. But you always seem to have made a shift at the exact right moment, where whether it's, leaving the role when it was time to leave or starting a role when it was time to start, you
Yeah.
seem to really kind of, you climbed really, really well and in a very well-paced manner. And that was always incredibly impressive. And obviously, it's an insane Rolodex of names and companies and brand names. And some of the cool
Yeah.
things you got to do were awesome. Like the events and the samples I got. I mean, I which I probably should get rid of. I just found like an old. I do too. I was just like, it doesn't. It expires. It's definitely expired. Like I've. I just found a stash, and I was like, "Huh, should I
Yeah.
rub this on my skin?" But I think it's been really, really impressive to watch because again, as I said, it's super different, like polar opposite from my journey, which nearly right when we met and became friends, I got fired for the third time from a PR agency. And after getting fired 3 times, most people would be like, "Oh, I'm probably not supposed to be in PR." But I instead was like, "Fuck you guys. I'm obviously really good at this. I love this job. You're clearly doing it wrong. I'm doing it right. So I'm going to, instead of trying to go back out there and find another company that is the right fit for me, I started my own company and kind of forced my own hand because I had no choice but to succeed in making that leap. And now, 14 years later, that's been all I've been doing.
Has it been 14 years? Wow.
14 years. Yeah. And I love it. I
What's the
absolutely
name,
love it.
what's the name of your company?
The Same Page, Paige. So, random, just fun fact, it was originally Same Page Communications because I thought it would be really funny for it to be my initials, SPC. This was before I got married. I was Stephanie Page Cesare. And then it was just silly. I changed it to The Same Page because the entire time it was Same Page Communications. My website was thesamepage.com. So it was kind of just like waiting there for me to be like, hello. So changed it to The Same Page almost 10 years ago. That was an early change.
And remind everyone slash me the mantra or the
What's
powerhouse
on
slogan.
my business cards? Mm-hmm. President and Silver Lining Specialist. Because I have done all sorts of PR. I have had the opportunity before starting my company to work with real estate, doctors, beauty, so many different things. And I've had the opportunity to do crisis PR and it's not fun. I don't like that side of PR where you're twisting the story and changing the message and getting creative. I do hospitality PR. So we work with bars and restaurants and hotels and booze and anything under that hospitality umbrella that really embodies just wanting to show people a good time and brands and people that just want to, be there when you're having a night out with your friends or be there when you're hosting a dinner party or any of those kind of things. And it's fun. And so we find the silver linings and I absolutely love it. Obviously, it's been 14 years.
But I feel like interestingly, both of our jobs have led us to our husbands.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's and also, in your work and my work, like the power of community and networking and connections is just also been just, I feel like, such a strong part of our lives in terms of
Yeah.
relationships and maintaining
Yeah.
relationships and the importance of it. And I mean, that's also actually the number one thing is when I've talked and spoke with recent grad slash early career enthusiasts, if you will, had they,
Early career
I don't know,
enthusiasts.
they're
It's a very
warriors.
niche group
I
of
don't
people.
know. Yeah, none of them are enthusiastic about working, so that's actually a complete misnomer. It's like the power of, it's like the importance of building relationships. And
Which you are so, which we mentioned at the end of, I think, last week's episode. You are so, so good.
yeah,
You have circles everywhere. You have network. Anytime you travel, there's someone to meet with.
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
just are very, very good about identifying and maintaining those relationships, not because you need something from them or they need something from you, but because you know the power of networks.
That's also been when I think about my kind of a Venn diagram of my values and things, like my purpose. I still have a hard, I can't tell you right now or define what my purpose is. I'm still kind of searching for that because my purpose is not my job. But something I keep coming back to is I love connecting people. I love introduce like there makes me nothing. The thing that makes me so happy is if I am the curator of a community or if I can bring a really amazing group of people together and everyone gets, they don't even have to get along, but there's
Which
some
is
sort of
literally social media. That's like creating community. That's like the purpose of social
reach.
media.
And so I value that. And I think another important thing about relationships is it's give and take. And a relationship isn't staying in touch with someone because you always want to ask them for something or you want to ask them for a job or it's not, it's give and take. And I think that's also like the art of maintaining a relationship is sharing things with a person, even if you haven't talked to them in a couple of months. Like
Yeah.
that's also been a big theme for me throughout my professional life is there's a handful of amazing C-suite leaders that I just admire and have worked with and I'd like to stay in touch with, not because I want a job, I genuinely like them. And so I will send them either a text or an email, but it's not just a text or email saying, "Hey, how are you?" It's with something of substance, something that will give them, a takeaway, whether it's a social article I saw or like a trend or did you see this? Or I thought you might be thinking of you, check out
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
latest brand activation.
Well, and I think because you've set that precedent in those relationships, you get that back a lot as well. I think, excuse me, you're someone who people reach out to and say, "Hey, saw this article and thought of you," or, whatever it is. I think that's an important part of networking. It's not just, as you said, it's not just,
Yeah.
always reaching out, reaching out, reaching out. It's a give and take, and it's mutually beneficial relationships that you're so, so good at. And I think, yeah, there's been a little bit of that, not a little bit, there's been a lot of that in my career as well, in that, the people that I worked with when I first started my company who were bartending at a client of mine have since gone on to open their own bars. And because they saw how we worked and because they had a relationship with us when they were behind the stick at a previous spot, they reached out to us when they're opening a bar and say, "Hey, we'd love to work with you for PR." So, again, I don't make friends with bartenders because I think that they're going to open a bar one day and it could be of value to me. But that's how networking and relationships work. You're still in touch with these people, and they saw what you were able to do, and you see the potential in them because you knew what they were doing back in the day, and you just stay in touch, and it's amazing. That's
Yeah.
great.
So you are now the CEO and founder of your own company. How has it been finding talent and keeping talent and then the decision to have a 4-day work week, which I find is a very,
So liberating.
yes, attractive
It is.
piece.
So finding talent was has become exponentially easier. I don't know if easier is the right word. I opened up my talent pool during the pandemic when I decided that the company needed to go fully remote because A, no one was in offices, and B, I lost my office space. I didn't lose it. I just didn't feel like paying for it anymore because I didn't have people and people weren't in office. So I was like, you can have my office space back. Having access to talent anywhere in the world, literally in the world, has exponentially opened up my talent pool and my company. And I have people on my team now who have been with me, the longest standing employee that I've ever had at the same page. I think she's going on 3 years now, who splits her time between Argentina and Florida. and I don't care because she gets her job done. Like, I don't care where you're working. Like, my whole ethos is, and I think it's been really, really beneficial for me that I did work at other agencies before starting mine because I know what I don't want to do. And yes, there was some positive that I learned from other agencies as well. But when I was working for other agencies, would be the first one in the office. And as soon as I got in the office, I would, before even taking off my jacket, putting my bag down, I would send an email so that they knew that I was in
Mhm.
the office. And then same on the way out. I would put my jacket on, I would get my bag on my shoulder, I'd have an email drafted, and the last thing I would do is hit send on that email so they knew exactly when I left the office because that was the only way I could prove that I was doing my job. Not by actually doing my job. That wouldn't have done it. It had to be the first one there, last one out. And so I very much have now within my company an ethos of I don't care where you are. I don't care when you're working. I don't care, what's happening. I care that you're getting your job done. I care that you are thriving, that you're working in a way that makes sense for you. I tell my team all the time, I'm like, if you need to leave for 2 hours in the middle of the day to do a workout because that's going to make you more productive when you come back, go for it because I need to do that sometimes. So I fully understand you do. Like, that's just the way that I feel I'm most productive. So hopefully that's the way most people are most productive, or not most people, but the people who are working for me. There are some people who need more structure than that or need to be in an office, and I get that. But I've been able to find talent and find an amazing team that thrives
Mhm.
having flexibility, which I love.
And I'm sure they love 4 days. So how it has that, yeah, I don't know, that sounds wonderful. How has that changed anything?
It is. And again, I don't want to say it's selfishly motivated, but it's something I'm able to step back and say, if this is something I would enjoy, it's probably something my team would enjoy as well. And I, it got to the point where I think it was about 2 years ago where I said to my team, hey, I want to try this. You are all working your tails off. You're doing a great job. I think we can squeeze a little bit more into 4 days and
Yeah.
all take that extra day off. Like, we're there, we can do it. Let's try it and see how it works. And
And
it's
if
great.
something from a client breaking comes up, because you're in media, you're in PR, like you see it, you can
We
deal
deal with
with
it.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever, in the 2 years since we've been doing that, I don't think, I mean, assuming they listen to this podcast, they'll find out, but none of our clients know that we have a 4-day work week. No one's ever like, we demand a Friday meeting. We demand a Friday, like you can just schedule all your calls and meetings. And that's, again, it's a reflection of my team that the clients aren't aware that we're only working 4 days a week because the work is getting done. The results are there.
If something comes up, like there will be a response because you're
There's a
responsible, but it's
response. If
not.
there's, and again, like we are working in hospitality PR. We, if someone needs a cocktail recipe urgently on a Friday, it's a rare occurrence. Like we'll send it, we'll deal with it if it pops up, but we are not saving lives. We are helping people come up with a fun place to go to dinner for their next girls' night. Like it's fun, it's fluffy, it's lighthearted. Like there's
How
very,
are you
very
feeling
rare.
about, I guess, where you are in your career now? Do you see yourself maintaining this for the next, having same page? Is this, how do you think
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I never intended to start my own company. It's not like I, grew up being like one day I'll have my own agency. I just and I grew up with a entrepreneur dad, so I saw what it looked like to start companies and to be your own boss. And now that I have tasted this and experienced this as compared to working for other people, there's a 0% chance I will ever work for someone else again. Ever. Like there's just no way. I'm sitting here on a Friday afternoon in the middle of my living room taping a podcast with you because this is the life that I have built for myself and the career choices that I've made. I won't let anyone take that from me. That's not like just not and I have the choice to keep doing that and I love it. There's no way it's ever changing. It's the best. The best. I love it. And I know, but you like having corporate structure. You like being in
Well,
the
yeah,
system
yeah.
and you're great at it.
I know where I thrive, and I do very well when I'm part of a team, when I'm part of an organization. I think a lot of that again goes back to always having that team mentality and just kind of growing up in sports. But I'm very disciplined and organized, but I do better when I'm busy. Like if I have a million things going on and I'm multitasking and I'm juggling, like my brain is better. if I have an hour to do something, I'll like putz around, and it's a weird kind of time management thing.
Yeah.
But I do. I know I want to be back and working with a team and a brand, and I'm exploring what those paths are. But honestly, the past year has been a complete roller coaster in marketing leadership. And anyone who listens, anyone to this, anyone who I've talked to knows exactly what I'm talking about. There are tons of corporate restructures going on. There are massive shifts happening to creative teams, lots of things happening given AI. And it's just a very competitive marketplace. And my experience has been going for some pretty competitive big senior roles, and they all go to internal candidates. And it's frustrating because
I
I'm
think worth noting, after like 7 rounds of interviews, you
yes.
have been
Specifically, I'm talking to this brand right
hoarded by
here.
some people.
I'm talking to you, Nike. I love you, Nike, but I've been through the ringer.
Whew,
It's
my
okay.
goodness.
Love them. But yeah, and they go to internal candidates, and they use you as the external benchmark to either be more confident in their internal hiring, or legally they need to have an external candidate part of the mix, and then they legally have to post the job. So I'm aware of all of this, and I still go into all of these conversations very, eyes wide open. But that's Nike. I'll say Nike, Peloton, and PepsiCo were the three that I was rounds and rounds for several jobs. They all went internal. Um, Sonos was another one. Yeah, well, God, yeah. There's been a lot. So that's my PSA for, you know, you have a great, again, I know we kind of talked about
There's some outside talent, brands. There's outside talent.
it's a weird time right now. And so I'm just, again, being very methodical in my next steps. And if I want, I can get a job tomorrow if I want to, but I want to make sure it's the right job and the right stuff.
Absolutely.
And, making sure I'm making that right type of mood and doing something that I love.
And you're
It's
very
weird.
lucky to be in a position where you can wait for the right role. There are a lot of
Yes.
people who cannot and are not in that position, and you are in a fantastic position to do that, which
Yes.
is amazing. And so you are very thoughtful about what you're doing and even the interviews you're taking.
Yeah. But in the meantime, again, consulting, doing some really fun stuff, working, I'm not going to say it quite yet because it's not official, but I have a really fun big one that I don't think I even told you this, that I'm going to be working with. It has something to do with some big
This is so
global,
mysterious.
big global games that are happening in Milan and Cortino in the winter, and then they're coming
Okay,
to Los
okay.
Angeles. So I'm doing some consulting work in that world, which will be happening, which will be really fun.
Very cool. I just saw in the sports world something super cool that I loved, that the WNBA, have you seen this, is launching a new campaign called Line 'em Up, where they are
Cool.
going to public parks and painting the WNBA three-point line
Sweet.
at the public on the courts so
Okay.
that it's more representative of women's sports and women's athletes. And the first one they did was in Brooklyn Bridge Park, and I think that it just happened this week. And I was like, I love this. This is super cool. So if you are at right now, I think it's only Brooklyn Bridge Park, but if you go there and you're shooting some hoops and you see the orange line versus the white line, that is the women's three-point line. So you
Love that.
know what those professional
Well,
women
speaking
are
of the
doing.
WNBA, next Thursday, June 19th, I am taking Max to his very
Here we go.
first professional sports game. I'm taking him to see the New York Liberty play at Barclays, which is the
So
women's
fun.
WNBA team.
Yep.
And here I am, right? This huge advocate for women's sports. And we're laying in bed at night, we're reading our book, and we have pillow talk every night, and it's super cute. And so excited. I'm telling him about like, okay, well, Max, next Thursday we're gonna go into Brooklyn. We're gonna stay 2 nights there. And I tell him like we're gonna go see the women's professional basketball team, the New York Liberty, the
The
best in the
coolest.
league.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look at him and he goes, "Oh, but boys' sports are so much better than girls' sports. I don't want to go watch girls' sports. Why can't it be the men's team?" I'm like, "Oh,
I
we
have
our
failed
son.
my son.
How did this happen?" And it just shows you, despite like that, somehow culture has seeped into him,
As a
despite
6-year-old, as
literally
a 6-year-old,
everything that I
having never been to a professional sports game
never,
ever, he
never.
already has that
Yes, no,
that
all
thought.
we do, I coach his soccer team. He's obsessed with it's so
His
cute. Like,
co-ed soccer team.
it's
His
co-ed,
co-ed,
co-ed
yeah,
soccer
but
team. I coach
like
it.
just
He's so proud of like my mama played, and and that his first reaction was, boys sports are so much better than girls. Like, I don't want to go to that. I'm like,
Well, he's in for a treat. It's going to be the night of his life. It's going to be amazing.
So, look forward to reporting back on that.
Yes.
I guess we'll have to record this next Friday from the Ace Hotel in Brooklyn. I had no idea there was an Ace Hotel in downtown Brooklyn now.
They're everywhere now, yeah.
But looking forward to that, to going.
That'll be fun.
I've not been in and had like a good true Brooklyn weekend with Max. And
Good. And this weekend is Father's Day. I know neither of us did really anything for Mother's Day. Are we celebrating dads?
Great question. I asked Craig what he wanted to do. I think we'll just do something chill. Max finally learned to ride a bike, or not finally, he's right on time, learned to ride a bike, which is awesome. And so I'm hoping we can do something like that ends up at a brewery.
I love that.
And brew sounds perfect.
Bike
of course,
and brew.
for me, it sounds perfect for me. I'm not even.
Yeah. It sounds like it could be Mother's Day plans. I love that.
We'll do that.
Yeah, we're going to do similar. We were invited over to extended families for dinner, but we're not going to stay for dinner. We're going to go over and just enjoy, some family time and appetizers and cocktails, and then come back because Spencer really wanted to just order Chinese food and veg, and it's his day, and he gets what he wants, which is Chinese food.
Recommend Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV. Put that in your lineup.
We started the first episode and it depressed him because John Hamm was such a sad man.
Did you continue on? I forgot.
We haven't, but you know what? It's on our list. We have a running list of shows that we need to watch. Let me tell you, and I know we mentioned this. We just finished it. The Pit is amazing. Watch The Pit on Max. So good. Very, very emotional. I cried every episode. Again, I cry all the time anyway, but so the barometer for me is a little different from other people. But fun fact, I found out Bryan Cranston's daughter is one of the actresses in it, and I love a good surprise Nepo baby. Super cool. And then the other show we just started is Paradise on Hulu, which is like a kind of thriller, cool, like mystery. It's cool. It's great.
James Marsden is the
James
president.
Marsden and Sterling K. Foster.
Parenthood. No. What's it called?
This Is Us?
This Is Us. Yeah.
No. Is he in that? I never watched This Is Us because it was too much for my little heart.
I liked it. You know what I loved was Parenthood. Did we talk? We Parenthood.
Yes, you and I, this is a common thread. We love Parenthood. It's such a good show. It was
any elder millennials love Parenthood.
It's the reason that I started listening to Dax Shepard's podcast. It's like the thread between Gilmore Girls. It's just there's so many people, and then all the actors that have gone on to do other things. You're like, oh, I love this person because of Parenthood, and I will watch anything. It's just such a good show. I really, really wanted to name Harry Ezekiel and name him and call him Zeke, but Ezekiel Elliott is also a famous football player, so we did not do that.
That's a fun fact. I did not know that.
Yeah. Zeke.
I didn't know that about my godson.
Your godson, yeah. He was not very close to being a Zeke. But Harry he is.
Harry. Okay. I can't believe that went by really fast. I feel like I have so much more to say to you. But
because we're getting good at this. That's why. We're getting much, much better. Not to toot our own horns, but toot, as my right forearm says. We're getting better, and I think I appreciate the feedback we're getting from people that helps us to improve on a weekly basis. So please keep sending it. Please poke us, text us, DM us. Yes, the topics are helpful.
Wait till we get into the IVF journey. You guys are in for a treat.
Oh, that's a fun one.
More on the egg freezing stuff, the IVF stuff.
It's a fun one. I've got my friend who was trying to find a time to come on so we can talk up to someone who has a very personal experience with homeschooling and being a stay-at-home mom, because I am fascinated. It is not something I could ever do. I don't have the patience to do it, and I want to know more about people who choose that journey and are succeeding. Because not only does she do that, but her kids I've never met them in person, but they seem like the loveliest little darlings. And I'm sure like all kids, they have their moments, but yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to people who have sent questions and comments and feedback. Keep them coming, because we're going to keep talking, whether or not you give us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, a lot more. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Later.